This is interesting.
So you've been off filling the children's heads with stuff and nonsense.
Finally, someone's making a sequel to Mary Poppins. Yes, 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 yes! Yes, 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 this is gonna be awesome!
Off we go.
Movie, you had me at Dick Van Dyke. I'm gonna go see it right now. Yes! Oh, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Enjoy the review. When I saw the first trailer for this movie, I wasn't really all that impressed. But then when I saw the second trailer, I was blown away. And yes, I was one of those people who saw that 2020 special, and it's a really good making of special. Anyway, Mary Poppins Returns is the hype sequel to the 1964 timeless masterpiece, Mary Poppins. Everyone has seen this film as a kid. I mean, who hasn't? With a perfect cast that includes Julie Andrews as the titular character who won an Oscar for this film, and my idol Dick Van Dyke as the bumbling chimney sweep Bert, the film is regarded as one of Disney's greatest achievements. With themes of being a kid, parents being there for their children, and of course, finding your way back, the film has great casting, a wonderful story, wonderful themes, and iconic and memorable songs. And that's just to name a few of the many great things about it. How can you top it?
Oh, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious.
Well, wait 54 years and make a sequel. Yeah, it's finally here, a sequel. Directed by Rob Marshall, the film is set 20 years after the events of the first film. But Banks' children are now grown up, and Michael Banks has kids of his own. His wife recently passed away.
Everything's fallen to pieces since your mother.
This film was also set during the Great Depression of the 1930s.
The bank is now demanding that you pay back the entire loan in full.
The entire loan?
So now that the stock market collapsed, the bank is on Michael's back every step of the way. Michael is struggling to make things work. His sister Jane tries her best to help, but he's about to lose his house. So Mary Poppins comes back to help out once again. And by the way, Mary Poppins' entrance in this scene is decent, not as memorable as in the first film, but it's still a really nice opening. You see, Michael put out a loan, and now he has to pay it all in full by the end of a week. That's why he's under so much pressure. That's why he's so hard on the kids. That's why he's so cold all the time. In fact, he actually forgot what Mary Poppins taught him all those years ago. In fact, he pretty much gave up on fun and games as well. Emily Blunt is a really good Mary Poppins. She's more faithful to the original books than she was in the original film. She's feisty and rude, but she understands the importance of her work, never taking credit or explaining anything. She's not Julie Andrews, but she makes the character her own.
Close your mouth, please, Michael. We are still not a codfish. Jane Banks. Still rather inclined to giggle, I see.
You seem hardly to have aged at all.
Really? How incredibly rude. One never discusses a woman's age, Michael. Would have hoped I taught you better.
There's no Bert in this movie. In its place, we have Jack, played by Hamilton star Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is a lamplighter. Basically, what a lamplighter does is they go around at night lighting lamps, and then when it's daytime, they dim them. They do that every single day. He learned a lot from Bert, as in, he knows all of Mary's secrets and tricks. He said that he would hear stories about her from Bert as a kid. So he heard Bert's stories and in turn carried over what he learned from Bert and applied it to Michael's children. Oh, and in case you're wondering where Bert actually is, he's actually traveling right now. Okay then. The supporting cast includes Colin Firth as the current head of a bank, who, spoiler alert, he's the villain of the movie, Meryl Streep as Topsy, Mary Poppins' eccentric cousin, and Julie Walters as Michael and Jane's housekeeper. And of course, my idol, Dick Van Dyke from the original movie, appears in this movie as well as Mr. Dawes Jr., the son of the original banker, who he also played in that movie, which I didn't even know that until later. He comes at the right time in the movie. I won't spoil where, but when he appeared, I jumped for joy. I was in nervous anticipation waiting for his arrival, and he did not disappoint. And his song, which is basically a reprise of Triple Little Life Fantastic, where he got up onto a desk and tap danced, I was overjoyed. I applauded the heck out of it. It was fantastic. Oh, and speaking of the original characters, we also have the Admiral and his assistant. Yeah, they appear in this movie too. Interesting. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Broadway actress Angela Lansbury appears in this movie as a balloon lady, who has a small role in the film. She comes in at the bookend of the movie with her own number. The movie never forgets the original characters while also adding new characters. It's not a repeat of the original. I'll talk about that more in a bit. There's also an animated sequence which is reminiscent of the first film. All of it takes place in a Royal Dalton bowl that the kids say their mom gave it to them. The best part is that it's hand-drawn animation instead of CG. Every single character is animated almost like they're loose or made of rubber, but I don't mind this too much. But at the same time, it looks good. There's not one character that's identical. Every character is different from one another. They're all anthropomorphic animals, which is something that Disney was known for, and they brought it back, thank God. Even the penguins from the original film return. They look different, but it's better than nothing. The musical numbers were written by the same guys who wrote Hairspray. How do you top what the Sherman Brothers did? Well, don't. Be different. Each song has a theme in them. Triple Little Life Fantastic, the big dance number which is shot beautifully and choreographed excellently, is about when you are the light, you become a more positive person. A Cover Is Not the Book is about looks can be deceiving. You never know unless you actually read between the lines. Get it? Can You Imagine That is a song about the wonders of imagination while acknowledging that it may be nonsense, but there's a lot of joy in it. Some people think that these songs are repeats of the originals. One thing for sure, you cannot replace the Sherman Brothers, and also this movie doesn't copy the songs from the original. They don't. None of what happens in the film rips off the first film. None. And there seems to be a theme when it comes to the Banks family. See, a member of the Banks family loses his way, Mary Poppins comes along and helps him find her way again. It must be a family trait, even Mary knows it. There's so much love in this film, ranging from the story, to the themes, to the choreography sequences, to the set design, to the animated sequence, to even the character development on Michael, going from very humble to very disturbed about everything that's going on around him. Everything's crumbling and he doesn't know what to do, yet he's trying everything. I was surprised by this movie, I really was. If I had a few negative things to say about it, it would be this. Colin Firth wants the Banks' house because why? Yeah, I never fully understood that. You could make the argument that his character is generic and stale, like something out of the 90s, but Disney lately has been putting in stale villains and twist villains, and really, who cares, honestly? Whatever. That, also, the Topsy scene, let me get back to that. Like I said, she's Mary Poppins' cousin, and on every other Wednesday, the house flips over for an hour. So what's the big deal? And after her scene, which lasts about 10 minutes, she disappears out of the story. The song in the scene does have a good message to say. That when things are upside down, you see things from a different point of view. So learn to turn yourself right side up and you'll think more clearly. That's a good message. But other than that, the scene, I don't know. I don't even know. Honestly, guys, I could go on and on and on and on. But really, if I did that, I would spoil the magic, imagination, creativity. I would just spoil the whole movie, and I don't want to do that. But before I go, I want to say this. I've been hearing that when people saw this movie, they couldn't help but think of the first film. Listen, people. Like, real honest talk here. Meryl Streep is not trying to be Ed Wynn. Lin-Manuel Miranda is not trying to be Dick Van Dyke. They're their own characters, and they know that they can't duplicate what the original cast did. But songwriters know that they can't top the Sherman Brothers. You just can't. The Sherman Brothers' songs are iconic and memorable, implanted in our heads since childhood. They're their own creators. And Emily Blunt is not trying to replicate what Julie Andrews started. She's her own portrayal. If anything, her portrayal, in her own words, is more faithful to the original P.L. Travers books. This reminds me of when people complained that the 7th Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens, is similar to the original Star Wars. Not to be rude or anything, but get over it. It's pointless to argue over these little things. It's like when people try to compare which restaurant is better, Wendy's or McDonald's. There are 2 different restaurants. Enjoy. Who cares? Do you really need to think about this? And yeah, one of the lessons in this movie is don't be an overthinker. Yeah, well maybe you should actually watch this movie because it's actually teaching you stuff. It's actually a really good movie that you should definitely watch it. Come on guys. This movie is teaching you a bunch of different things. Each of the songs have a theme in it. It's got a lot of heart behind it and all you're doing is just complaining. Stop. Sorry, got a little carried away there. Overall, when I left the theater, I could feel that there was so much love in this movie. And I walked away dancing. That's the best thing I can say about it. That's the best compliment I can give it. I walked out of the theater dancing. Overall, 4.5 out of 5, or let's give it a 9. Let's give it a 9 out of 10. And it earns, and I'm going to start doing this now, hopefully it'll turn out okay. It earns my must-watch and own seal of approval. Mary Poppins is back, and I hope you guys enjoy the experience.
Are we ready?
Ready.